That's all good. Hey, everybody.
He's Shane. I'm Lex.
Welcome, welcome.
Way over there is Chris.
Yeah, Chris is going to come in here in a bit. As always, we want to show you some of the what's new in PDQ Deploy, but of course we've got some questions that have come in already that are not necessarily deploy related, but of course IT and
we'll do our best to answer those.
We'll do our best to answer those. But if you have any questions, by all means, throw them out. And
hey, before we really get into it, that survey about
updates.
Updates. Thank you. Just we were thinking about actually doing pushing out like cumulative.
Yeah.
Updates?
Since Windows, since Microsoft has started saying we're going to start pushing out cumulative packages, especially for Windows 7 and 8.1, it makes it a lot easier tracking that in inventory than before when you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of packages. So if you notice out on the collection library, if you have PDQ inventory, that we are breaking those down as far as the latest patches for 7, 8, etc. If you want more of that, like the tracking the other patches like .NET and IE, let us know. Also,
chime in on the survey,
yeah, if you'd like to know if you would end up deploying those from Deploy if you had the chance,
or
from the package library
or whatever. Yeah. All right. Anyway, should we get on it?
Yeah, let's get on it.
Okay.
All right. So for some reason got inventory open here, but we're not talking that.
I'm gonna just start out the way we always start these. RTFM.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Read. Yep. So you go to your click on your welcome.
You almost
welcome
said
to
it. You almost said it.
No, welcome to no, I didn't. Welcome to PDQ Deploy. Yeah.
Okay.
Go to help.
Go to help. Go to help, Alex.
Go to contents. Get help, Alex. What's new in this version? You can also do that from that main node, and of course, just break it down.
There it is.
One of the coolest things, if you use inventory, and this was a feature that's been,
this is super cool.
Yeah, it's been requested, and we were happy to finally get that in there. Right now, if you have to deploy, if you have computers targets that require different credentials, whether it's local, some aren't members of a domain, so they need the local administrator, or others just
different domains.
Yeah, different domains or different areas where I have access to these credentials can hit these machines but not these, and you had to break those up by deployment because all the credentials were passed at the deployment level. Well, they still are, with one little exception though, and that is
we pulled a scan user from inventory.
Yes, now. Correct. If you have, once again, PDQ, if you have PDQ inventory, let me just come over here. I'll just go to a deployment real quick. Let's do 7-zip, open that up. Notice your credentials. This is, once again, still per the deployment, unless you happen to click.
Okay, that didn't work. JJ, I can never make that thing happen. Anyway.
Unless you click the Use PDQ Inventory Scan User Credentials. So what is that? And remember, in Deploy, we don't keep track of computers. We just look at targets. There you go.
There we go.
We just look at targets. Break that.
There we go. Okay.
But in inventory, you can have different, what's called the scan user set for each individual computer. So I'm going to grab, we have Fletch. Fletch is a great one because Fletch is not there. Let's go ahead. Well, let's make sure. We're going to add Fletch right now. Fletch is a computer that's in our lab that's not a member of a domain.
So we're going to have credentials for Fletch, obviously, that are not domain ones.
So if you don't have the computer in inventory and you say use the scan user credentials in Deploy, if you don't have that computer in inventory, doesn't matter. It will then just revert back to whatever your scan or your Deploy credentials are set to. Anyway, I'm going to come over here to credentials. All right, and I'm going to let's add a new one. And this is we can keep, since it's a local admin, we're going to keep that domain field blank, and it's called Vincent. Usually, it'd be administrator or whatever you change your name to, and then the password.
Password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
JJ, can they hear what you just did?
All right, so we just hit test it. I'm just going to put down, these are local admin.
Local admin.
Something like that. You can always, your description is optional. We just tested that, made sure that those credentials worked on Fletch. Perfect. So now I've added this in inventory, and now I'm going to add a computer to inventory. And we're just going to do a computer by name, and it's called Fletch. But we're going to use the local
Admin.
Add it.
There it is.
Perfect. So if I try to use domain credentials with Fletch, it wouldn't work.
So again, inventory is going to save the credentials that we added it with, and PDQ Deploy is going to reference those.
Correct.
It's gonna be awesome.
Now, how do you change your scan user? Number of ways. You can right-click on this machine, go over here to select scan user, and choose the scan user you want. Notice it's set for Vincent. Why? Because Vincent was the account that imported that. Whereas if I go up to Cunningham, which is a domain computer, and say select scan user, it was imported by Quintana. We'll keep that.
Yep.
All right. So now we'll go back over here to deploy, and we'll just hit 7-zip.
Synergy.
We'll choose targets. We'll just do Cunningham
And Fletch.
and Fletch. However, we are going to say use PDQ inventory
Well,
scan.
you spell like I do.
Cunningham. There we go. All right, so we know Cunningham uses Quintana, but Fletch uses local administrator, right? So we'll just go ahead and hit deploy now. Boom. Before this version, you could not do this.
You'd have to do it in 2 separate deployments.
Yeah, you'd have to separate all the different credentials. So this is nice. And Chris, you've broken this down to many, many different credentials in one deployment, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've done 5.
Come talking to Mike, man.
That's awesome. Okay, so you can see how that's working now. I've highlighted Fletch. I can see it's being used as Vincent. Highlight Cunningham. It's using Quintana.
Quintana.
All right.
Excellent. And that was right behind Shane. You can see that on the right hand.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so we've that. I mean, that's one of the things that I think I'm just, especially if you use inventory, I was just so excited about that.
It makes life so much easier. You don't have to break things up.
Now, we've also added a new feature, and that is Wake-on-LAN. If you, in deploy...
That's not really a new feature. We've just added it other places now.
We're going to modify or make Wake-on-LAN a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
So in Wake-on-LAN, or using Wake-on-LAN in the past, you've had your offline status. In earlier versions, we used to refer to this as your offline policy. And you've got like ping before deployment. What that means is if you have, this is a global setting, right? So if you say ping before deployment, what happens is when you select targets, if with that option checked, we'll just send a ping out. 2 seconds are given for each target to return. It's 2,000 milliseconds. If it doesn't return, we assume that's offline and we're not going to deploy to it with that setting. And it frees up your deployment queues.
Speeds things up for you.
Yeah, it does speed things up if you have a lot of offline computers. But you could also do the, people are saying, I want to send a Wake-on-LAN and then attempt. That means if I'm deploying to a target, it's offline, it's going to send some wake-up packets.
Turn it on.
And it's going to wait up to 5 minutes for that target to wake up, and then it's just going to attempt.
Now, again, guys, if you've got 8, concurrent deployments set in your parameters there, you could have 8 machines waiting 5 minutes, so nothing will be happening.
Actually,
so.
we did break that up.
Did we?
Oh yeah. Now when something's in a waking status, it doesn't take up one of the actual.
Oh, that's right.
PDQs.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, here's the thing though. This is global. So if you had this set Wake-on-LAN, all of your deployments would have that. Now we've broken that down. I'm going to turn this off. We'll say we do the ping before. That's
Smart
generally
thing,
what we
I
want.
like it,
Now I want to push out 7-zip again. Actually, we'll just do that. Let's break it up. Let's do the new flash for IE Windows 10. And notice in the offline settings, there's a new tab here, offline settings. In your offline status, you can use the default from preferences and package. I mean, there's a sequence where you can change this in the package, you can change this in the deployment. That's kind of the hierarchy it goes down. We don't want to use the defaults. I want to send a wake up just for this deployment. All right, so I'm going to hit send Wake-on-LAN, and then just whatever computers you choose, whatever computers you choose, this will do that Wake-on-LAN if it finds that a machine is offline. But it's not going to affect other deployments because you would have to actually change that from the default. And of course, the opposite is true. Maybe you do want to always Wake-on-LAN, except for those few maybe you have a scheduled reboot. And this package, there's a scheduled package, it runs every Saturday night at 8, and it's intended just to reboot. Well, you don't want to Wake-on-LAN a computer just to reboot it. So if you had send Wake-on-LAN as your default, It would just be the opposite. When you said, okay, let's build my reboot.
Reboot package. Yeah, and put that on a heartbeat, guys. That's always a good idea. I mean, Chris is laughing because, heartbeat, as soon as it comes online, it reboots it. I usually do that when I want to mess with Chris. So.
By the way, just so you know, I'm going to do this, just some best practices, because I know a lot of you do this.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to reboot. I generally say, let's turn off servers.
Servers, yeah. That's a bad day.
It
I don't
it
care
can-
how you do that.
You know,
That's
you can be
bad
a little
day.
careful on how you deploy this, but you still never know. Maybe we call it reboot workstations. Just throwing that out there, unless you really are into
Living on the edge? Yeah.
living
yeah.
on the edge. All right. So reboot workstations. That's all this one is going to do. But notice, I'm going to go to the offline settings of this particular package, and instead of using the deploy, notice it's. Can you zoom in on that, JJ?
On the preferences there?
If you can, yeah. All right. So.
Windows key. One more over. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Notice it's inheriting those settings from preferences. All right? Let me play that. We don't want to use those. We're just going to say no. For this one, don't.
Yep.
Don't Wake-on-LAN.
Don't
You know
do
what I
bad
mean?
things. Don't do
Yeah.
bad things.
We're just going to go ahead and say, in this case, we're going to send this reboot to workstations. If you're already offline, guess what? We've succeeded. We wanted to.
Now, my personal favorite is make sure you do it while somebody's logged on. Don't send a warning.
Dude, you're such a tool. All right.
I am totally, but it's so much fun.
So that's a great way. Remember, so the sequence is you can set it in preferences. Then you can set it in the package. The package will override the preferences. And then you can set it again at the deployment or schedule level. And that will you can override things in the package at that point. So,
So-
that's the lowest level of
At the deployment level, that's the last thing you touch before it launches. So,
If you have any questions, do we have any questions?
Yeah,
'Cause
do
I know
we?
we had some earlier.
Yeah, let's throw one up.
Our first question of the day from Dustin M. Does the scanned user credentials also retain the password for that user so you can deploy as that user profile?
Okay, so it's a good question, Dustin. Seriously, really good question. I'm going to break this down in a couple parts. Do you have your earpiece in, by the way? If you ever want to chime in, Chris, just chime in. All right, so number one, scanned user credentials. I'm going to break this down in a few parts. In both inventory and deploy, whenever you specify your credentials, this is in deploy, these credentials are...
you got to show this, JJ. There we
These
go.
credentials are encrypted, all right? Yeah, you specify, in this case, you got Chris Powell or Quintana or Vincent.
Local Corgi Whisper.
Yeah,
Really?
there's...
Oh my gosh. I'm just going to punch you on general principle after the webcast, man.
It's like every other day. Okay, so Dustin, those are encrypted. Now, as far as saving, you do any of the credentials you specify in here. You do not. When you say run as that profile, those credentials are saved. So let's say we saw Quintana, for example. Quintana's been in here. I could deploy and say deploy as Quintana, the deploy user, and it's going to do things in Quintana's profile. And I deploy as, remember...
If you were to put something on the desktop, if you deployed as Quintana, it would go on Quintana's desktop.
Yeah, remember, when you're deploying, you can go to... Every step has a run as, but that's not the same as credentials necessarily. That's what I really want to call out. Let's say that I wanted to, hit step 6 to run not as the deploy user, which might be Vincent if it's to Fletch, or as Quintana. I could say the logged on user. In that case, a user has to be logged on, and it will then use the profile of and the context of that user. If a user is not logged on, it will just revert to local system.
Yeah.
But please remember to separate the deploy user and the run as.
Yeah.
Your deploy user is almost always going to be, your account or your administrator account, some account that has domain admin privileges for the most part. And the run as is meant to modify at runtime. Maybe you need to run this as the logged on user because they have to modify the HKey current user Hive of the registry, or you need to modify something in their that user's particular
Something's going
apter.
desktop or something for that user specifically.
That when you say run as logged on user and Lex is logged on, Lex is not one of our scan credentials. We don't know anything about his password. All we're doing is saying Lex is logged on. We're going to run in the context of Lex. We don't know his password. The deploy user, that's why the deploy user necessarily has to have administrative rights on your target computer. I hope that answers your question. It's separate scan user or credentials from run as.
Yeah.
That's all. I want to cover another fact. And actually, I have Chris come in here. Chris, come on in, step in. Another feature that was added is just really quick. The post schedule. This guy right here. You can now send a post schedule notification.
Oh, this is beautiful.
And this was a request that had come in, yet we've not really received any feedback from this. So test it out. Explain quickly what the problem that people were having, and then.
Yeah, we heard a lot of the voices of the community, knowing that our heretofore notifications have been per deployment. If you had a schedule set up with 100 packages, guess how many notifications you got for that schedule? 100. Yeah, great. Not so. Because of that, we decided, let's actually make it so that per schedule trigger, you'll actually have one kind of a cumulative summary of what was going on for the schedule itself, as well as quick little blurbs about each individual deployment.
And which makes it so this really comes into play when you have schedules that kick off multiple packages.
Exactly, and that is the key one, especially for those that do baselines or do any sort of just mass pushing out bunch of packages for people. So it is a wonderful thing. So let's go take a look at that. I'm just going to open up preferences here and show you under the mail server section. The notifications, if you'll notice now we have 4 default notifications, 2 for deployment and 2 for schedule. If we open up the schedule one, you can see that it looks very similar to the old deployment notification with a little bit of changes. This first section here is all going to be for the schedule itself, but if you scroll down, we don't have a lot of real estate here, otherwise I'd recommend maximizing the window to kind of see it. You'll see this running deployment section. That's going to be per deployment of each package in the schedule. So you're going to have an email that has a top section that shows the status for the schedule.
All the entire schedule, and then individual, hey, here's 7-zip, here's Adobe Flash, whatever's in that schedule and their corresponding.
Yes. And in addition to that, we also added a bunch of placeholders that you can use for this to give as much information as you want about the schedule. If you click over on this variables button, you can see them. And see this list. I don't know if that's going to be easier. Yeah, great. Starting up here from schedule created all the way down there. There are so many.
Even more.
Yeah, tons more. There's just oodles of them. Everything you wanted to ask about a schedule.
But we're afraid to ask.
We're afraid to ask.
Good old
It's
Woody
here.
Allen movie.
Yes. So you can use those at will. Side note, this is me being me because I'm Chris. This option here, send only when results change, be aware of this. If that's checked, which it is by default, it'll only send a notification if the previous deployment for that target changed from failure to success or success to failure.
No, the reason that came out, we had customers that said, I've got deployments, it's hitting the retry, it's a schedule, but the last time the schedule ran, the same 3 computers, which are offline, were also offline. And
Yes.
I don't want to get an email every time when there's no change. So we added that. It's very popular. However, there's one little gotcha. Mention it quickly.
Yes, but if you're deploying, for example, if you have a package that you've used previously to send to all your machines in your network successfully, and you think, this fancy new notification, I'm going to use this. And you configure it, you use it, you send that exact same package. If that's selected, you will see no email. Just be aware. It's a wonderful setting, but just be aware of it.
So this new change is all right. Get out of here. and you know what? Tell Lex to pack his stuff and get out of here too. Tired of looking at him.
Bye.
Tired of looking at me?
Merry Christmas.
Dude, time out, dude. You were tired of looking at me when I got here this morning.
I was tired of looking at you when you entered the world 3 months after I did. I just felt this disturbance in the force.
That's impressive.
The funny thing is, you know how long
go ahead.
we've
Let's
known
ask-
each other?
Let's ask another question.
Dear Shane and Lex, happy holidays. Oh, I'm sorry. Are user credentials securely stored in PDQ Deploy and when used across network when deploying? Orlando D.
Let me answer that. plain text. We launch. Now, of course, they're securely stored, man.
Like to say this man does not reflect the views. Yes, they are.
They are totally.
We use a standard AES encryption. It's we're using Microsoft's the different encryption for Windows as exposed with the .NET APIs. So these are encrypted. They're stored encrypted.
I got to tell you, I may joke about it, but I am the security, just like Gestapo here. So
they are now, as far as those since you're using the word credentials properly, yes, and those are we use SMB. We utilize SMB, server message block. It is encrypted going over the network. That doesn't mean that if you were to create, so that there's user credentials as specified in PDQ Deploy, PDQ Inventory. Now, if you were to create a package that said, I want to change, I'm going to run a command step and change this password, change the local administrator password, and so you just do net, let's go net user, dang it, net user administrator, and then you type in the new password, and then run that. This is a command that is sent.
What you're going to see, yeah.
Yep, that's actually sent down in a file, and if somebody gets access to that file before it's deleted, they'll see that password.
Unless they're using PowerShell.
And Chris just said unless you're using PowerShell, but you also have to do a couple of extra steps to hide that, to obfuscate that.
2 blogs about that.
You have 2 blogs about
Check
that.
Chris's blogs on passwords.
So
yes.
credentials, yes, but you could always, anything you send in a command step like this.
Going to go plain text.
Yeah. So just wanted to call that out. I want you to say, oh, they said it was encrypted, so now I'm going to blast this out using this part, Now, sorry.
We can throw that post up in the chat as well.
Yeah,
That'd be great. That'd be great. Throw Chris's post up there. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, let's do another one.
Go ahead.
And our next question coming from the famous Stephen V. Is there a process that runs during deployment that ends after the deployment ends on the console server?
Is there a process that runs during deployment that ends after?
So is it like a registered job that runs?
Okay,
Is that
so
what you're asking for, Steve? Or,
is there? Okay, so Stephen, I think I know what you're asking. There's not a post process that happens at the complete end of a deployment. You can do that in auto deployment where you can say pre and post actions, but that deployment's still running.
Yeah.
However, when you say deploy to a computer, we actually can contact that computer. We create a Windows service. It's the PDQ Deploy runner service. There's a process that's based PDQ Deploy -number, -n. It's an exe. It runs as a service. That does clean up after the deployment ends and then basically disassemble itself. That's pretty much all that happens. There's no other external, at least initiated by us, process that's kicked off.
It's registered, yeah.
Check for the conditions, but that's
Unnecessary.
Minutia.
So no, I'm hoping that I answered your question. I mean, the process, the deployment, the service is created and then carried out and then disassembled by the runner service, and we actually create that runner service. That runner service kicks off 2 processes for various reasons, and even more depending on conditions. Thank you, Chris, for muddying up that water.
Yeah, buddy.
But no, they're all pretty much self-contained. I don't think if you're thinking about another
Stephen wants
process.
to clarify the question.
Okay, clarify.
Is there a PDQ runner service equivalent that starts on the console?
On the console.
Oh, on the console, no. Yeah. No, when you open up the console, you're just opening up the console.
Sending it out, man.
Yeah, and then, of course, you have your background service that's running as a Windows service on your console machine. Those are 2 separate processes, but no. The runner, the background service is what's used to initiate all those deployments. So it's the same. That's the process that's being used.
Another question? Great.
By the way, Brig has a new updated What's Under the Hood KB, and where he breaks down a lot of what Stephen just asked. Go ahead. Cool.
And this one coming to us in honor of Rogue One and a disturbance in the Force. We are sharing between 4 admins on different planets. Ooh, and wonder if we can see each other's deployments. If I create a job and someone else deploys my shared job, can I see their deployment or only mine? Sincerely, Toba Fett.
Toba Fett.
Toba
This is
Fett.
the cousin of Boba. Do you want to take this one, dude?
Sure.
All right,
All
go
right.
for it.
Let me actually read it
I
again.
drank all the scotch, dude. You're
Oh,
with
okay.
that.
Well, there's okay.
I'll
So
imbibe from the air.
obviously, admins are sharing. You are sharing a package, and I on another console, I can see your shared deploy package. I grab that. Not only that, when I see that, I see your deployments.
Yes.
Now, because I can access that from my shared feature in my console, I can now deploy that. So the question, I believe, from Toba is, can you then, the one who's sharing the original package, I can see the deployments you've made. Can you then see when I've deployed the package that you've shared?
No.
Wow, that was really a great answer there, Chris.
It's perfect.
It's
I-
it's accurate.
Yes, it doesn't go back way. So you can when you access a shared package, TopaFat. I can't believe I'm trying to say that in a straight face. When you access a package, a shared package, and you deploy it, you can see the history of the person sharing it. You don't see anybody else who's accessed it and deployed that. You don't see their respective history. That's on their console, and as a result, the person who's sharing won't see yours. By the way, we are mentioning this. Again, we're making some really big changes. So forthcoming, a lot of this is going to be modified where you're going to get what you're looking for. But right now, no.
Be gone, Chris.
Right.
All right.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we can do another one.
I'll go for it. I need a monster. Where's my monster?
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way for PDQ to deploy Microsoft FIXIT cab files? Example, blah, 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 used to quickly fix Silverlight corruption. Sincerely, Darrell S.
Terrell.
Aaron.
Aaron.
Hey, Daryl. Someone give Kelly a Christmas punch, will you? All right. You know what? Now it's interesting. This the FIXIT utility from Microsoft has always said basically run right now. I've never seen silent parameters. However, I found a few people have said no. I found a way to do this to deploy it. Have you heard of this, Chris?
Yes.
Why are you here?
Of course he has.
You want to come in here real quick?
Yes.
I'm not leaving this time. Chris is
All right,
gonna have to
Chris.
stand
Chris
by
is
me.
hanging. You're hanging. Go
I'm
ahead.
okay.
Hurry.
Okay.
So, Chris, tell us about the FIXIT file, buddy.
Yeah. Other than they're actually depreciated now, they're actually replacing them. Anyway.
Deprecated or depreciated?
That
Depreciated.
both.
The depreciated
Anyway,
value.
yeah, that's stuff, words, mouth. Anyway,
Okay.
recently when we actually did the Dealy, the
The
webcast
Dealy?
with Steve Aldinger
okay.
a couple months ago, whenever that was time. We actually talked about this because he actually showed me how to do this that I was unaware of, and so we actually
Steve.
we have this information. I don't have it right in front of me. This is kind of an impromptu question. I can see if I can find it real quick.
No. Just answer, man. We'll get it posted after.
Science, but there is definitely a way to do it, and
Silently?
it's silently. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Hey,
It's
Steve,
hidden.
pop it up if
Yeah,
you got it, buddy.
If he has it handy, if he's there in the chat, he asked
He
a question.
seems to be the expert on this
So,
one for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible.
So it can be done.
So it can be done via PDQ Deploy because it can be done silently. So
I like Chris's answers. They're either yes, no,
or no. Just
Very
quick.
quick.
Yes. Good luck.
awesome.
Good luck. We're counting on you.
Good hustle.
Here's your ball of yarn. Go make the network work.
Do we have? Hey, JJ. Do we have any more questions? By the way, JJ was in LA this morning and he missed his flight, so he had to book a separate flight. Left his girlfriend in the terminal.
And she's still there.
Dude, you are a rock star, man.
I am. I'm just an upstanding.
I love it. I love
She
it.
was watching earlier. She said hi.
Well, see you later, honey. Good luck in the terminal.
Good luck.
Don't get
make it
mugged. See ya.
tonight.
Don't
Cause some
convert to
Chinese
whoever
food.
talks to you.
All right, let's wrap this up.
We're wrapping it up. Okay, so basically a couple of things, guys. Credentials from inventory are awesome. 2, I'm going to punch Kelly. I'm going to punch Chris.
Just start throwing.
It's going to be a brawl afterwards.
Just start
guys.
counting
That's what we
everybody in
just-
the office.
Check out, and if you have an inventory enterprise mode, check out the collection library.
Yeah.
Look at the new section. It's called Windows Updates. Check
Pop
that out.
this up, JJ. You got to see this, man. It's really cool. Windows updates.
You want,
I hate to bounce us
get
back,
this
but
back
it
up
is
there.
super
Hold on.
cool.
it just for right now, if you scroll in there, JJ?
Yep.
Under Windows updates, now you'll see that workstations, you have Windows 10, Windows 7, 8.1. The Windows 7 and 8.1s, we break it down into the monthly roll-ups.
Yeah.
There's that option that's put out, a patch, that's a cumulative patch.
You can tell when your stuff's been updated, guys.
And there's security only. If you don't want the monthly roll-up, the security only, we track both of those based off their KBs. So as they come out, these KBs get replaced. You know, we can see in this one, there's those machines that have it,
Nice.
and 5
Those that
don't.
don't.
So, anyway, yeah, check it out and let us know what you think, if this is something that you're interested in for us expanding and continuing to use. You know, Microsoft has really
Cumulative,
simplified the way they do their patches. So we'll go ahead and kick back over there. Sorry, JJ.
That's pretty neat.
So I think I'm going to start doing punches now. Shane, do I owe you one?
Sure.
You know, the funny thing, guys, is before everything, Shane and I sit here and punch on each
Oh
other.
yeah, it's like that's our greeting.
That's how we start.
That's how
the day.
that's how. By the way, that's how the lesser evolved of us greet each other. Is we just start to fight.
Yeah.
It's like your shirt.
Yeah, actually. There we go. You like that? Actually?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Nice. Hey, happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, rock on, everybody.
We'll
talk
see
to
you next year.
Talk to you the new year. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for our final webcast of 2016. Want to congratulate Dustin M. and, yes, Tobafet, winners of PDQ swag. Send us an email with your information at webcast@adminarsenal.com. And please take a moment and take our ginormous 2-question survey. The link is there in our chat. Have a fantastic holiday season. We'll see you back here in 2017.